impacted by the COVID-19 in a way or another. All the industry has been affected, and despite art remains connected. Tell us a little bit more about your experience during lockdown. How did you live this unique experience? Was it a challenge or did you find opportunity? Let me ask Arash first.
I want to tell you something, and you know that, and other friends also, we are family with quarantine situation. Every artist around the world, we are in quarantine all the time. We are not afraid of 24 hours at home without communication, something. We know what it is. And we are fine with that. So, intimidation from news, and this problem was very unpredictable. It started from China, and then everybody afraid of what happened next. And for someone like me, or because I'm living with my art, at the first time when it happened, I had some event, you know that, in Singapore, and my teaching course in Rome, and also other two events in Bangkok. I was thinking, okay, if they are canceled, what can I do after? Because my incoming, everything like a chain together. My payments and my incoming, these are together. So, and then this problem got bigger and bigger and bigger. I decided to avoid biggest crisis. You know, when I realized something going to be happen, you know, I stuck at home and I cannot go out with special policy from Thai government. I started to produce some paintings, some art piece related to this period, especially this period, and then postpone my payments. And then I adjust myself at the first month, to be honest. I knew that, and then I started to paint. And first of all, I announced to my students in Rome, I cannot go there, and just like that. But for other hand, I could not go out or something. It no disturbed me. I was happy with that. I was working and produce new works, and I try new technique and camel bone and new papers and different things. Yeah.
Thank you, Arash, for sharing your experience. Can we hear from Manisha? How was the lockdown for you? Because I know you have physical class, but at the same time, now you turn everything online, right? So can you tell us more about this, Manisha?
Yes, I live by this notion that life throws lemon at you, make a lemonade, not just lemonade, add little soda also, and add lots of things and make everything, you know, turn around to your favor. So initially I had this problem. All of a sudden everything stopped because of social distancing. There was no classes going on. And then in India, of course, art is huge. And there are amazing artists around us, and there is amazing taste for art. But given to this pandemic situation, what happened was, like everywhere in the world, art and buying painting became a part of luxury, and that too, it was like last in the list. So my first thought process was, what should I do? Not just for myself, but for, you know, community as well. Community as an artist, community as people in my community, because I could see lots of depression, anxiety going on, and that uncertainty, what are we going to do? So yeah, there was quick thinking, like for 1 or 2 days, and I was like, I just cannot sit around idle. I need to do something for myself, for my sanity, and something with the community. So my stepping stone was, first I started launching those online classes, free for everyone. It started from my city, then it went to nation, then it spread internationally. So it was completely free with all the tricks and techniques. Anyone could join in. So this was my contribution. I was doing that. Then what I did was I launched one after another, 2 to 3 contests. For that, I got all the sponsors free. And these were art contests where I involved, again, all the community, everyone, artists, non-artists, everyone was there. Then I started approaching media, not just social media, but also print media and everyone. And I started promoting all these upcoming artists, whatever they were doing, the kind of art they were coming up. We also came up with lots and lots of artworks which were dedicated to doctors, to those frontliners. So we did whatever we could. And then slowly, I started with my online workshops also. Once I started online workshop, of course, I was very skeptical because I was new to this thing. I never ever did Zoom. I more rely on, that personal touch when we all are sitting together, painting, splashing colors. And when someone comes up with, see, I'm having goosebumps while saying that, someone comes up with an amazing art piece, you feel like hugging them. Wow, what a beautiful piece. So it's a different experience altogether. So I had this
Right.
hit that I don't want to go for online workshop. It's so plastic. I really don't want to do that. I won't be able to do it. But then, of course, for artists also money matters. We need to sustain. Yeah. So I started online workshop and that thrived. Touch wood, that thrived. And I'm giving back-to-back workshop every day for like straight 4 hours. And then I realized that if I can do, I can help others too. So I had a friend of mine who was like completely out of scene, not from India, and I won't name him. He was completely out of scene, and I felt that something was going wrong. So I just picked up the call and said, "Where are you? You've disappeared. Where are you?" Nothing. No, something is going wrong. What happened? Then this guy came up with the thing that everything went downhill for him. Because of COVID, everything shattered. His finances were gone, and he was going bonkers. He didn't know what to do. And then I came up with this idea, why not help artists to come up with the online workshops, and I'm going to sponsor them. I'm going to help them via Zoom, and I'm going to provide them students. I'm going to make the posters, whatever I can, but let's grow together.
Hear from Abinoro. How was in Nigeria during the lockdown, and you as an artist, how did you experience it?
Well, anyway, as an artist, I'm actually used to being isolated, really, because my studio is designed to be within my residence environment. So I literally actually don't go out once I have my supplies, my art supplies. And I can actually stay within my studio for months without necessarily having to go out. But then it's the pandemic wasn't just a thing about being locked up somewhere, but your inability a lot of time to get certain necessities that you really need, because art is spontaneous. Having made your plans, there are things that will pop up that you actually needed to bring into the part of whatever you're developing. But now we're all stuck within our spaces, So I could deal with being isolated, but not actually being able to reach out, was a challenge. Then I run a part-time sort of mentorship classes for young graduates, who are just leaving school and are finding it difficult to actually start out. When I started out practicing, that was one of the biggest challenge I could have as a sculptor. Then you can't paint, you can't create your sculptures within your living environment, unlike painting.
Yeah.
You need an excluded environment. So that was really a major challenge for me. So what I have always done over the years is to try to accommodate young people that are leaving school and give advices and all that. And I had tons of them who want to come around, but now I can't do that. So I had to create alternative choices for them to find ways to communicate, via the internet. And then that worked on that one. Then I work with a lot of other young people on some of my projects, and that couldn't continue, because they can't come to the studio regularly. So I had to put all of those on hold. So I was actually affected. A lot of my projects were affected, because I'm actually already working on my next solo in 2 years' time, and some of the works were in process, and I had to put all of those on hold. And there were major materials that I needed to work with. I had actually made orders, but they were not delivered. Now I was stuck. I couldn't work on my major projects. But I think it helped me sort of to rethink, improvise, and think of other ways or other things I could create. And then I realized and came to actually discover that there were a lot of other part of me that I have neglected over the years. I have had other material that I have piled up in the studio, that I've actually ignored, because I was fused to my sculpture, my cutlery sculptures. Then it gave me time to go back to the studio, look at other material that I have on ground. I have piled up of coins, coin on grounds. I have piled up of parts and keyboards on ground. I have colors that have stocked up before that had actually just put aside. And so it helps me to go back to other energies that I have neglected, over time. But then there also came the issue of, you're locked down, and for a country like us who couldn't get a support for their citizen, you also have to, to fix your bills and all of that.
Sure.
And now you're also unable to make sales because a lot of clients need contacts. Apart from my international clients, a lot of clients here need contacts. And a lot of people weren't actually ready to buy arts because if you buy, they cannot be shipped, But then life still have to go on. It's looking at other possible ways, cutting down on expenses, whatever you're spending, cutting down on all of that and seeing how family and the studio can keep running because it's almost impossible for me to spend a day without creating. So my studio had to keep running, the bills had to keep being paid. But alternative plans, cutting down on expenses, revisiting new materials, and also trying to have better family time. Art can consume the whole of you. That you actually begin to neglect people, in your life that are important because you're consumed by work from the studio. So I had to learn and try to have more family time, and read a bit more than I usually would do because of my engagements. I had to try to read a little bit more, work on more researches, and revisit most of the projects that I have on ground, especially my second slide is coming up in 2 years' time, ought to be in 2021, but the entire world is, it's all be turned upside down.
Anna, can you tell us a little bit more about your experience during the lockdown?
Well, the first bit was recovering because I had a bad accident. I broke my right elbow and fractured.
Oh, boy, sorry.
So I had a lot of time to sort of surf the net and find out more. And the internet was flooded with many people who are confined indoors and everyone trying out new styles, painting, posting. And I realized the importance, if you want to be a professional artist, I realized the importance of having a good mentor and someone, a professional who could give you advice on how to build up your website, your CV, because if you want to really succeed professionally, it's important to have expert advice. And I think one of my philosophies is that the more you know, the more you realize how little you know. In fact, there was also a study, 1999, Cornell University, they found that the less skilled people thought how they were much more skillful. Even Shakespeare said, that, and as you like it, that the fool thinks himself wise, and the wise man knows himself to be a fool. So if you are a good artist and you never, it's always a learning going uphill. Your art needs to be represented well. And although maybe one might think that being represented by a gallery or having a professional website designer it might cost a lot of money, but I think the more I see, the more I realize you immediately notice when someone is a professional, when he's backed by a good expert people. Because to tell you the truth, I would rather just paint. It takes so much time to fiddle around with websites and posting stuff. I find that a waste of time. I would rather be painting. So you could invest a bit of your money if you manage to sell, because again, I'm not a good self-promoter of selling art. And it's good that at least the managing to live on my husband's income is okay. So from my earnings, I buy art supplies, which can be expensive. And that's it.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you. for sharing your experience. Findus, how did you leave the COVID lockdown? I mean, you are into paper making, so how was it for you? You're currently in Germany, right?
Yes, I'm based in Germany. I think my my journey on this COVID era, it started when I came back from Dubai from the Art Connects Women exhibition, which was also kind of affected by the COVID pandemic. When I came back, I was entitled to stay for 2 weeks in Germany and then continue to go to Uganda. So of course, by end of March, all flights were cancelled. So I had to cancel all my flights and all my assignments and everything which was already planned worldwide for this year. So there was the IAPMA Congress, the Congress for the International Association for Paper Makers and Paper Artists, which was scheduled in for September this year. There was my journey to Mauritius. There was several journeys I had to cancel by end of March, which was quite sad. I'm more this kind of person with a positive mindset, and I'm more likely making the best out of the situation. So this was the case there as well. First of all, I thought like, what a big relief to live according to my rhythm of being awake and sleeping, because I was not entitled to go anywhere. And I had more time to create, but also to work on my websites, on my social media, which is very time consuming. I agree with others, and I guess that's mainly what many other artists did during this time. But I also had some time to clean my studio and to reorganize myself, because this was quite a strange month. I resigned from my job in the fashion industry at the end of February this year. So that was a completely different situation then. And meanwhile, I'm completely freelancer, so I'm more than happy that things turned out like this. And of course, the thing I really suffered most about the COVID measures and restrictions is really the traveling. I miss it a lot. About the Fancy Pets project in Uganda, I'm conducting it like I did before, because even before the COVID era, I was restricted in traveling, because you know, when you have a part-time job, you have assignments and you have a schedule and everything. So I was already used of communicating through digital medium and through WhatsApp, through the internet, emails, and everything. So this was not new during this lockdown. And as Arash already said, like I'm used of living on my own and working from my studio and from my home office. So I didn't feel like this was really restriction like that.
Of course.
Yeah, I agree.
Great. Yes, indeed. So now we'll go for a last round of questions. Your voice is valuable. Your voice will make a difference. Speak up. Tell us more how you will see the new future as an artist and the creative industry. If you can recommend one action to make it a better world for artists, what it will be?
Well, I think what gives the home a soul is the art, which is in the home. And especially now with COVID, we've been confined indoors. And I think people should be encouraged to realize that when you invest in art, for example, my family, we all buy each other a work of art of another artist for Christmas or for birthdays, because it's hanging on your wall, you're enjoying it all the time. It's there, it gives you memories. So maybe the governments of countries should make it a policy, especially in the schools, with regards to the subject of art. It's not just painting or drawing or sculpting. I think the government should encourage school children to visit museums and to instill in them a love for art and art appreciation. So well, I think that's important. Even public broadcasting, television stations, I think in the same way that news bulletin at the last 5 minutes are dedicated to sports, I think more should be dedicated to culture. A lot of countries already do that, but I think it's important to broadcast the importance, because after all, art is what makes us human, more special than other species.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Anna. Abinoro, do you want to respond? What one recommendation that you would like to say, to have a better world for artists?
Yeah, I personally, I think I usually feel that the world is too busy chasing things actually that is taking or reducing value from our lives as humans, and I'll honestly recommend that as humans, we will need to have to learn to give more attention to issues that pertains to being human in the first place. Culture is completely being neglected as people, and speaking from where I am, there's little or no attention actually being given to our cultural values, because we're actually busy chasing politics. The world is bigger than some other things. I mean, we're all locked down somewhere.
What's this one action will you recommend to make a better world for artists?
Well, for the artists, let's learn to add more of our voices and create in line with things that happens around us, because the more we try to put out our voices through our works, the more the world will listen, and realize that there are more answers within what the artist creates than anywhere else. Art is life. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Abinoro. Let's go to Manisha.
Yes. See, I've been noticing, like, I saw you also doing the same. If only, during this time, curators can take a stand, and while taking the art, like we all are exhibiting, we all need to get some exposure. All the artists, without exposure, just creating art and, hanging in our walls won't do us any good. Of course, we are posting on Facebook and Instagram, but exhibitions are exhibitions. They exist till date for some reason. We need to interact more. We need to grow. For that, I think if curators can take a stand, just like Zaira, you've been taking, that there are few artists who are really, really talented, but due to COVID, their finances have gone in drain. They cannot exhibit. So together, unanimously, like if one curator, for example, is choosing 6 artists or 10 artists, and all these 10 artists can, donate a little bit amount of whatever sale happens and help the 11th artist, so that he also gets to exhibit his art and, get his share of exposure, it will be wonderful.
Thank you, Manisha.
There are several things on my mind when you ask this question. So I'm thinking about, like, I advise every artist, never give up on your vision, and always be convinced about your art and your way of living and everything. So don't please anybody. And there's also another thing on my mind, like I experienced that many institutions, they really want artists to exhibit, but still there's no fee paid by those institutions for them exhibiting. I mean, what I mean is, like, in galleries, for example, it's for the commercial reason, the exhibition, that's fine. But for example, museums, if if they want artists to exhibit, they should pay artists a fee, because, for example, like musicians, they are paid a fee for providing music and entertainment, and art is also a kind of entertainment. So that's what I would recommend, like artists, to artists to really ask for fees for entertaining the recipients or people and in organizations. And it's not very yet, even over here in Germany, it's not very common that artists are paid for making an exhibition, setting up an exhibition in like community hall.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or or even in an office. So I'd also recommend artists to not only think about selling their work, but also renting their work to offices, to companies, and also really I'm really encouraging artists to do this, and also companies to really engage with artists, because artists really can give another perspective on things. And when it comes to art, it's not only about the artwork, it's even about the personality, the network of the person. So this is what we as artists should really foster on. And I also think, like, in a community, we are even stronger, and it's even more possible to be seen if you are a member of a community. I'm saying this because I'm a member of the International Association for Papermakers and Paper Artists since 2016, and I'm a member of the board since 1 year now. So it's a good way to extend your network, and also to make your art seen, also to get to know about open calls or whatever opportunities. So take the opportunities and also keep it balanced. Like, I mean, it's not that we as artists should take every opportunity to exhibit, but choose well with who you engage. Yeah, and at this stage, thank you again for the Art Connects Women event. It was great.
Thank you. It was one of the last events before the lockdown, right?
I have two messages. One to the artists: don't give up. I mean, never give up. Please produce more and more. Use your talent. Don't be afraid. This situation, more or less, will solve. And many art event, expo, exhibitions start to open again. And I have a special message to the art buyers, our audience, I mean, art buyers, art lovers, and especially those special collectors. Please be brave to spend your money. You keep your money for what? For when? There's no meaning, you know. This is an artist investment, and this is the best time, best moment. For artists, more depression, more expensive, more valuable. So I want to repeat again, we are family with this situation, quarantine situation. We are at home and we are working, and really a special message to art buyers: don't keep your money, because they are waiting who is first. You should be first. You don't wait for someone else. Yeah. Because I hear these sentences recently. Somebody said, no, we have to wait. We have to wait for what? There is no meaning. Yeah, this is very simple.
Yeah.
Thank you, Arash. That's hilarious, but it's a very strong punch to our message to our art collectors and art buyers, or perhaps emerging collectors now, because everything is online. So hopefully it will trigger more emerging collectors. We have a question to Anna from Tisha. So yes, so what do you do when you have a creativity block, Anna?
My problem is having too much to decide on what to do. I find that having a break, in the sense that either you go out for a walk, do something completely different, and keep your antenna have to be always in the open. And it could be the smallest thing which can trigger off an exciting project. I find that having little notebook in my handbag or around. And sometimes you see something which triggers off something exciting. And I jot it down immediately, because if you don't do that, the idea will just fly away. And then you say to yourself, but what was I excited about, you know? And also, I think an artist should have a plan on what you want, what is going to be next, and have like a body of work. And from one thing, it will lead to another, will lead to another, will lead to another. Because if you are creative, probably your mind will be all over the place. But sometimes you need to be organized and channel your thoughts and keep, it's like stepping stones, and you keep going, investigating, and then you arrive, you say, all right, I've done enough for that, and you start something new. But you have to keep your antenna always on, and if you have an idea, you jot it down, and you sketch and you research, and you move on, you investigate. That is my
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, and I hope she responds. Sorry.
One last suggestion. One book which really inspired me and I go back on is called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. And I think all creatives should read that book, because it has a lot of insight into the artist's life.
You can write the names in the chat box so all our audience can see the names later. Thank you, Anna, for sharing this wonderful
Thanks for having
response to those questions. We have another questions from Nadine Montil from Malaysia. So anybody can reply to her. You all have fantastic experience and you're all so passionate about your art. Thanks for sharing. I would like to know, how do you promote your art? And how do you approach galleries? Anybody can respond.
Can I say something about my work especially?
Yes.
My work should sell I mean, my audience should see my painting in real, because miniature painting, even high resolution picture, it doesn't work. For example, I have a very poor experience to selling online. Maybe someone, he bought a lot of painting before and he knows about the technique, and also he can imagine how it's going on. That's why, for example, I send, and then they can do. But in the recent crisis, I saw a lot of galleries and institutions, they start to promote online. I don't know about selling or something, but this is one of the way for promotion. Could be. So, actually, I have in some different website, international website, 4 or 5 artworks, my important paintings I upload, but I never received any serious request from them.
May I answer something?
Yes, yes, please.
So on the one hand, we have the digital experience of the artwork, and on the other hand, we have the real experience. Like the digital experience will never replace the real experience of the artwork, for sure. But what many artists do during those times are really building up their digital presence and their digital exposure of their artwork. That's a good advice. And I'd also encourage artists to really answer open calls. Like my task for the association where I'm a member of is to search for open calls, but they have to be special. I mean, they have to be special according to the type of art you create. Like I wouldn't apply for an open call for sculptures if I'm not doing sculptures. So I would choose well like this. And also promoting art is also like now we are, most countries are under lockdown, but also artist in residence programs are very important, also to network with other artists. Which is also very important. And I would also suggest to when you advertise your art offline, to really make a small flyer or have business cards or something so that people can approach you. That's the small things Yeah.
Thank you, Finesse. Abinoro, do you have anything to add?
Well, for me, I think I usually, there's a whole lot, it depends, the society differs, you know, and for me, I started out actually marketing my work via my social media platforms, and I've had great experiences. In fact, that's how I got to know at the ZeeArts gallery in the first place, and I was invited to Dubai for my actual first artist residency, and it's a good platform for me. You know, I think it's more about creating integrity and trust. You know, a lot of people want to buy online, but then we have the trust issues. You know, so it's about building good reputation online and seeing what happens. The world is open to a lot of possibilities, and this is we're dealing. There's a whole lot more coming. So I think use the platform that best suits your environment and how you want to project your work. But for me, the online space work largely for me, yeah.
Thank you, Abinoro. Manisha, one recommendation probably, and then we end the
recommendation for
responding the questions like how do you approach galleries and how do you promote your arts? Just one suggestion.
Exhibition, like everyone is saying, of course, in person, when you see the artwork, it's a different feeling altogether. But given the current scenario, I would definitely recommend that do keep on posting your work in a rapid way, you know, a passive aggressive way on Instagram. It helps on Facebook. It helps because for artists, like I say, exposure is must. Keep on, be visible. Let people know that you're an artist and you're painting amazing stuff. Until unless people know that you are creating stuff, and this is the kind of exotic pieces that you're churning out on everyday basis, and but they are not aware. So in order to raise that awareness, in order to get that exposure in COVID era, I would definitely suggest to post more and more Instagram, post more and more on Facebook. Take care of the resolution, keep the resolution level low so that no one copies or no theft is going on. And like Feet said, that definitely, you know, attach yourself with a gallery which is well-known gallery, so that there is no trust issues. And yeah, and because for me, my sales happen, quite many sales happen directly through Facebook and Instagram, and of course galleries also helped big time. So as of now, since everything is changing, I would recommend, yeah, digital is our resort. We must go for it.
Thank you, Manisha. I think it depends on the types of work. So digital is good for certain people, and certain people, they prefer to have the physical exhibition. Thank you very much, all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining the 4th edition of Art Connect Us webinar. Our next webinar will be on develop synergy between artists, art institutions, galleries, and art dealers. Next Thursday, same time, same date. We will share the communication on our social media, on ZeeArts and on Mauritius International Art Fair. Thanks to all our audience who has been very patient viewers and listening to us. And I would like to thank all my panelists for sharing your personal experience and taking time to accommodate us in Dubai. It's already weekend, so thank you very much. I wish you all the best in your artistic career, and hopefully we'll meet soon in some other exhibitions. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.